Good evening, everyone. Today, we're taking the channel in a new direction. Well, not too much. Let me explain a little bit here. Instead of talking about specific, maybe like one game or something like that, we're going to be talking about multiple games, more generalized topics. I'll still do game reviews every once in a while, but I think I'm a little bit more interested in just talking about more than one game, just talking about a bunch of games, just not covered in depth or as in depth. Today we're going to be talking about the Atari 7800 Pro system. I know, I had the box for it. This is an interesting one, really. Would have expected that this would have came out during the second gen, which, well, it was supposed to, but instead they held back and focused on more computery type stuff like the Atari 400, 800, and eventually the Atari XE. And when Nintendo got popular, they decided to just release this without tweaking anything about it. So, while this thing was competing with the NES that had, Legend of Zelda, Ninja Gaiden, and stuff like that, this had more arcade-style games like Miss Pac-Man or Joust, and we'll be talking about those in a second. Which, yeah, those games are fine, but they came out like in the early 80s, and by now we're seeing more complex games. Like I said, Ninja Gaiden, Legend of Zelda, Metroid, Mega Man, shit like that. So, while the Atari 7800 wasn't really the same as the Nintendo, it really doesn't truly feel like a third-gen console. The arcade ports on this system are, well, they're damn good actually. They're much better than sometimes even the ColecoVision port. So, while it's not really advanced in the gameplay department in terms of graphics and, well, unfortunately not sound, it's impressive. Some of the arcade ports on this system are pretty impressive. We gotta start this off with one of my favorite arcade games of all time, if not my absolute favorite, Miss Pac-Man. I've actually played the arcade version of Miss Pac-Man, so I have something to compare it to here. Besides graphics and maybe sound, this is pretty much the arcade game, really is. In terms of AI and everything, it just feels like the arcade game. So, in terms of that, there's nothing to complain here. The only thing that might be worth complaining about is the controller, but for this game, it's actually not too bad. In fact, it's one of the better options. I prefer it over even the Genesis controller, for example. So, Miss Pac-Man, this is probably the best one you can get for the 7800. And it doesn't have that stupid fucking screen scrolling effect like in the NES version, or at least one of the NES versions. If you want to check out Miss Pac-Man, I definitely recommend it. It's pretty cheap. Alright, here we got ZVS, which is one of the most, complex Atari 7800 games. Usually, you'd see just one-screen action games like, Miss Pac-Man or Joust or one of those. But this is actually just a shoot-'em-up. It actually came out for the NES, and I'd say this is actually the better version of the game. But yeah, in terms of shooters, this is pretty much just your average shooter. Although, even though it's a little on the average side, it's a perfectly fine game. In fact, it's one of my favorites on the system. It's there's a little bit more to it than one of the more simpler games on the system, which was pretty much half the library. So this is one of the more complex ones. I wouldn't say it's top tier. In fact, you can't even upgrade your weapon. Yeah, you're not going to be shooting lasers or fucking piss or shit out of your asshole. It's just going to be regular bullets. Yeah, check this one out, over the NES game, actually. So, yeah, if you have a 7800, get this one. Centipede, this is one of the more famous arcade games from Atari, and because it was made by Atari, as far as I know, it didn't come out on any other system of the time. It's not on the NES, it's not on the Master System. This is 7800 exclusive, or at least for the 3rd generation. It's a shooter, except you have a centipede constantly going down the screen, and you have spiders going all over the place, and like every other arcade game, you just try and rack up a high score. It's a pretty fun game. That's all you gotta say, but there is one thing missing from this port. It's a trackball. What? You never seen a trackball before? This is what it is. Here, I'll show you a picture of it. Yeah, you see that yellow ball over there? You thought you were just defiling Homer Simpson's nutsack. But no, that's actually a controller. You can play with that thing. And it's not Homer Simpson's nutsack. It's actually a more precise controller. So Centipede is kind of lacking in terms of not having a trackball controller. I think there's a modified version, a homebrew, which allows use of the 2600 trackball. I'm not entirely sure about that. Centipede could have used a trackball controller, but it's perfectly fine. It's a good shooter. If you played Centipede, you already know what I'm talking about. And this is a very solid version of it. Definitely better than the 2600 version. Here's one of my absolute favorites. This is Galaga. This also came out on the NES, and while many people might prefer the NES version, I actually kind of like this version a little better, probably because it plays a little bit slower, so I can just kind of go on for a little bit longer. It's something where I can just sit down and play for about 10 minutes, where in the NES version, well, I'm not great at Galaga, so I'll just get destroyed on like the 2nd wave. But really, all I have to do for Galaga is just show you some gameplay footage, so I'm gonna show you some of that, and, well, if you're not convinced, well, you're not fucking human. This game is really good. So yeah, that's Galaga. You're convinced, yeah. You, human. You're convinced. Go play Galaga, yeah. Galaga. Ugh. God, I feel like I'm at a gay strip club. God damn. Alright, next game. Joust. I can't get over that dancing. What the fuck is this dance move? Alright, so anyway, here's Joust for the Atari 70... Of course it's the Atari 7800. What am I even saying? Oh, it's for the 2600. What was the point of the... Alright, anyway, here's Joust, another arcade game that I'm really bad at. I cannot get very far in this game, but it's definitely one of the more interesting ones. If you played Balloon Fight, well, Balloon Fight copied Joust, so there's that. Joust is more physics-based. You gotta learn how to master the control of this ostrich, and then when you do, it probably becomes easier, but I just can't get control of the goddamn thing. It just starts walking for no reason, or I'm just floaty, and then I just go flying, soaring across the platform, and land in the lava. Yeah, I'm not very good at this game, but it is fun to pop in every once in a while. Joust, you know, you just joust your enemies, although you don't really joust them, you more like land on them. So, I don't know, whatever. Joust is a fun one though, so definitely check this one out. So those are a few Atari 7800 arcade ports. I'll make sure eventually to mention some of the original games on the system which aren't as talked about, but damn, they are mighty fine. They are very good. I think in the early days of the 7800, Atari just thought they could get away with releasing arcade ports that were really old. Really old games, probably like 7 years old for some of them. Asteroids is like 79 or something. Anyway, those are some arcade ports. Each one is worth checking out, especially if you are a fan of early 80s arcade games like I am. Anyway, I'll see you in the next video. I'm not sure what I have planned next, but I'll make sure to announce it on Discord. Yeah, check out the Discord. get to watch exclusive clips there, and maybe even an exclusive episode coming up very soon, if not already. Please check out the Discord. Anyway, I'm done begging for attention. Yeah, see ya.